I had never been to the cloisters of San Barnaba during the day before. In the late afternoon, the crew of Il Chiostro di Andrea was preparing tables for the evening service. I had had several memorable dinners there before, and was booked again the following evening. But I wanted to take a look around the other cloisters of the San Barnaba complex from the early 16th century in daylight, just for a change. Virtually nobody else was visible, although I occasionally heard voices from the offices on the upper floor as I walked along the covered walkways between the courtyards, pausing first in the Chiostro delle Memorie, the cloister of memories. The Chiostro delle Glicine, the wisteria cloister, I found particularly beautiful, with the plants entwined along and above the columns. From the Chiostro delle Memorie, I stepped out into the Giardino dei Platani, the plane tree garden, a very peaceful space. The weather seemed a bit uncertain. I had an umbrella in my backpack, but all the same, I decided it was time to move on before it started raining. As it happened, it didn't rain then, but the following evening, when I returned from my dinner at Il Chiostro di Andrea in the Chiostro delle Statue, cloister of the statues, I arrived in the midst of a dramatic downpour which had descended on Milan. With all the tables cleared out, I had a good view of what I have called a magnolia tree in the past, but have since been informed is actually a fabulous specimen of a laurel tree. I also noticed there was new outdoor lighting since my last visit in 2019. It was obvious we wouldn't be sitting in the courtyard, but there was a better alternative to dining inside. Our tables were set up in the magnificent arcade, where we were safe and dry, and got to view the courtyard while we ate. Even if the rain was bucketing down, the temperature was mild, so it was fine to be outside, protected from the elements under the gorgeous portico. Sommelier Andrea, whose excellent advice I have benefited from on each occasion at Il Chiostro di Andrea, recommended an unusual choice of bubbly, a Vermentino Filighe, a Sardinian spumante from the Carchi winery in the province of Sassari. This was the perfect drink to let me chill out while watching the thunderstorm I had just escaped from. My antipasto was possibly the most colorful dish of my trip. Cubes of nervetti, calf's trotter, arranged among a mixture of pickled vegetables and Spanish butter beans, with parsley-flavored mayonnaise and pureed mango. One of the most remarkable antipasti on this trip. Besides, I love nervetti, and while Milan is justly famous for them, they're impossible to find in my hometown, Vienna. Andrea brought me his recommendation for my primo pairing, a Lugana from Tomasi, from their vineyards in Le Fornaci, just outside Sirmione on Lake Garda. Andrea always knows exactly what I need to drink with each dish. Even after my antipasto, my primo held its own with a stunning presentation of colors, yellow and dark red, on top of the creamy color of the rice. This was yet another of the exceptionally original risotti I've had at Il Chiostro di Andrea. This time with the exquisite Piemontese cheese, castelmagno, along with beetroot and peaches, each providing their own sweet contrast to the tang of the cheese. To go with the fish I had selected for my secondo, Andrea recommended a white wine variety I seldom drink, a Sylvana from the Garlida winery in South Tyrol, a few kilometers outside Brixen. The fish was a meaty slice of cod, sitting in an infusion of green apple and celery, with mandolin celery slices on top. Other essential flavors were lime and ginger, and the bit of dark green at the front was bok choy. Tucked in between the celery shavings and the fish was also a bit of wasabi-enhanced mayonnaise. Once I was ready for dessert, I decided to go with something light, as I usually do at Il Chiostro di Andrea. Phyllo pastry strips, some with caramelized sugar, others without, all standing on edge and on one side of the plate. Embedded between the phyllo slices were scoops of a pistachio and white chocolate mousse. A red currant coulis had been artfully splattered at the top of the plate. Almost more important than the dessert was its liquid accompaniment. Andrea couldn't decide which passito I should have, so he solomonically brought out two. One, a caluzzo made from erbaluce grapes by the Ferrando winery near Ivrea in Piemonte. The other, a passito arbaria made from zibibbo grapes from Vinisola on the northwestern end of the Sicilian island of Pantelleria. Long after I'd finished the dessert, I lingered over the dessert wines, enjoying both of them immensely. Obviously, I'm not going to state a preference. I looked out at the potted plants in the white gravel garden of the courtyard, visibly happy with the liquid nourishment they'd received from above. Meanwhile, the rain had stopped.